Hello team members, it is me once again, Leah. Welcome to Album Fan Art episode 2. You may have noticed a slight title change from the first episode. Originally it was called Album Fart, but I am putting these on my portfolio. I don't know how much I want that to be communicated to prospective employers, so Album Fan Art it is. For my second piece of fart work, we are basing it off FEMTANYL. Katamari is the song by FEMTANYL. FEMTANYL is a really cool duo made up of sexy hot girl Noelle and hot sexy girl Skylar, both of whom I am really big fans of. The song, like I said, that we are looking at is Katamari, which is a webcore banger, and one that you should not read the lyrics to if you are on antidepressants. I learned that the hard way. So I started the project, as I always do, looking for inspiration. The majority of my inspiration picks were just from FEMTANYL album covers. Most of them feature this cute little kitty who, according to Wiki, is called Token. There wasn't a source cited on there, but I'm gonna roll with it. And I specifically really liked this album cover from Pet. I thought it was cool. I also scoured Pinterest for some low poly kitties, and I found this one, vibed with it, on the board it went. I have been rocking with cyber sigilism lately, which you'll see in my Pinterest searching. It was introduced to me by a really good friend, Abby or Elaine. If you want to see a real artist rocking with real art, I'm gonna link their stuff in the description. It's fucking sick, but shout out Elaine. Anyway, I think cyber sigilism's rad, and I thought it would fit into this. I wasn't exactly sure how I wanted to incorporate it, but in my search, I did find this wicked, biblically accurate angel with a bunch of sigils kind of wrapping around it. I thought that was tough, and so I am going to see if I can sort of incorporate that. I primarily used the Pet album cover as reference. I started with the head, rocking with the round cube, shout out, same as I did in the English episode, and just pulling and pushing until it matched the background image. I then did the arms as their own separate set of round cubes, attached them with a join modifier so that they were both the same object, and also joined the vertices then at a vertex by vertex basis, so it was all the same mesh. The claws were simply some extrusions with all of the vertexes at the end merged to get that kind of spike, and the limbs I've extruded out using another non-stock Blender add-on called Loop Tools, which is another one that I cannot recommend enough. It has a circularize function, which I'm using to make all my limb bases and then pulling them out from there. The body came together so quickly and so well that it was an honest surprise, and it's a really similar story for the head as well. It was another round cube, pushed and pulled it into place. Originally, I was thinking about making the ears separately and then appending them on, but while I was actually doing it, it kind of just made more sense to pull them out of the head. This did leave a little bit of wacky geometry, which is survivable, but it can make texturing and UV unwrapping a little bit tricky. So you'll see me using the loop slide to make sure my vertices are all aligned and looking kind of consistent. Just kidding! I took my own advice from the English video. I did not rig this character. After it was modeled, I used the power of proportional editing to just kind of move the limbs around until I got it how I was happy with, and it worked awesome. I'm really glad that I didn't mess around with it. UV wrapping Token wasn't a big challenge. Like we've been through, it's pretty simple geometry, but I guess I'll run through a little bit more of the UV unwrapping process. For this especially, I'm using Smart UV Project. just a stock Blender one. It's really good. But what you will see me doing is marking seams. If you imagine you had like a cardboard box and you wanted to unwrap that, you would need a point on which to cut it, and marking that edge is the same as marking a seam. You kind of have to just do it for a while. It's like thinking with portals. Your brain just starts getting used to it eventually. It tells Blender that on this edge, it is okay to separate these two faces. And I guess that's a basic metaphor. You can think of it like a zipper, like on a costume. You want it to be at a point where it's exposing a lot of it to be unwrapped, but also not at a point where you can see it really, really easily. I also mark seams all the way around the base of the claws. This ensures that they are all separated. They'll be on a different island in the UV map, which is good because I want to give them a completely different texture. Again, I learned my lesson from the English episode here, starting in texture paint. I was just painting on in basic colours, white primarily, grey for the claws. I knew I was going to go back and do texture editing in Photopia afterwards, but for this it painted it onto the UV map as well, so I know what's where. This is the part where I thought about incorporating some of the cyber-sigillism elements we talked about earlier. So I had this idea to take the lyrics to this song, Katamari, sort of convert them in my own way to like a cool sigils thing, and then have them wrapped around, like the angel we talked about. So I took the first verse of Katamari, I loaded it up into Photopia, and I just used the brush tool to doodle over the top. I made sure to use a lot of sharp angles, but curved lines, some hearts, and a healthy dose of the best shape of all time. And then after like half an hour of doodling, I was pretty happy with how it came out. I initially just exported it as a PNG and tried to import it back into Blender as a plane, extruding it to give it some thickness. I quickly realized that isn't how that works. Okay, I'm gonna level with you. I forgot to record a really important part of what I did, but I'll explain it to you. So I had this text that I'd worked on, but I'd imported it in and it was just a black PNG. It wasn't particularly high quality. It was kind of ugly. And so I did a little bit of brainstorming on how I could sort of give it some dimension. And what I learned after Googling is that Blender has SVG support. SVG stand for Scalable Vector Graphics. They're really, really cool. So regular pictures are made up of pixels, right? Scalable vector graphics are made out of lines and paths, which is different. It means that no matter how big or how small it is, because it is just a collection of lines and paths, it's more recognized as a shape than a picture. It's really cool. So using another very cool open source program called Inkscape, I put my picture in, converted it to a scalable vector graphic, put it back into Blender, and I was able to use these paths to give it some thickness and apply my own custom cool chrome texture to it. I was super happy with how that came out. Now it's time for the real texturing. I had a couple of tries with what I thought would make a good background, just out of pictures that I had. What I settled on was this electrical box picture that I had from around my neighborhood. It came out looking really cool. I was really happy with it. I also needed a fur texture, so I ran up to Frank, who's that little freak that was in the pot plants last episode, took a picture of that, used the GIMP tutorial to make it a scalable texture, That'll be in the description again. That video is so good. For the metal claws, I had this idea to use that cool metal grating, and luckily I had a picture of that because I thought it was cool before, so I took a picture of it. I wanted to make a scalable texture out of that as well. Because it's more detailed, that required more human intervention in GIMP, but shout out the Sickly Wizard. The tutorial covers it, and with a bit of finagling, I was able to get into a pretty good looking texture. For the face, I had this idea of recreating the face out of real life textures. I got a picture of like a mouth and dog's teeth specifically, and overlaid them on top of my initial sketch in Photopia. But to be frank, it didn't look really good. I looked at renders and I was happy with the idea, but I just couldn't shake the feeling that the original sketch looked better. And I'm not going to sunk cost fallacy myself. I tried it, it didn't work. I just went back to drawing it on. What I did want to do, however, is cover this little freak with blood. So I just got a couple of blood splatters just from images. I made a little atlas in Photopia, pulled that into texture paint, and stenciled the blood marks on, which came out really well really quickly. Okay, I did a costume change, so what? The truth is it's actually like a full week later and a lot of stuff happened. I quit my job, but I'm picking it up again now. I had originally planned for this to be a GIF as well, like the last one. I'd even done some experimenting with stuff like PSX style vertex snapping, and the text kind of like spinning around token, but it was just really busy and it didn't look particularly good, so I decided that, hey, let's make it like a real album art and just have it be a picture. Okay, lessons. A lot of this project in particular was, to me, about moderation. Like I tried the realistic image face texture thing, and it was a cool idea and I might reuse it, but it didn't work. I tried to make it a moving GIF with the spinning and the warping. Those were both cool. I plan to reuse both of those, but I didn't love them. I won't show you them because it's just kind of ugly. Yes, I will. I will show you them. Here's what they look like. It's a lot. On a more technical note, I think I kind of shot myself in the foot by doing the sigil text on such a small Photopia file. I kind of fixed the problem anyway by converting it into an SVG, because obviously that's lossless, but I still think it would have come out cleaner, and it just like would have been better practice if I'd blown up the size of the file in Photopia instead of working with like, you know, what came out kind of pixelated. Anyway, that's the video for today. If you have any cool recommendations for songs, as always, put them down in the description. And Noel and Skylar, if you ever end up seeing this, hi, big fan. The only reason I got off the chair is I wanted to show off my cool new pants. I talked about Abby earlier. They made these. Shout out. Give me more songs. I want to do more videos. Love you. Bye.